Burnout's overwhelming and often feels inescapable. It leaves people feeling exhausted and depleted and stressed, emotionally detached, and like they're not doing a very good job. It happens as a result of prolonged stress and when the demands heaped upon us are too big compared to the resources we have at hand to deal with them. Perhaps for a while you can push on. You can draw upon all your reserves of strength and resilience, and you can hide those inner struggles. And maybe you've maintained that facade for years or even decades. But eventually you can't continue like that. No one has unlimited resources of time and energy, and at some point you're forced to acknowledge and deal with it. If burnout isn't addressed, it affects all aspects of our lives: career, relationships, mental health, physical health, our happiness, and even our finances. If that's you right now, you have every reason to still have hope. With good support and guidance, people can recover from burnout and feel fulfilled and happy in life and work again. Here I'm going to share 10 tips to get you started, focusing on 3 effects of burnout that you might have noticed. The first one is exhaustion. One of the most common signs of burnout is exhaustion. Some people feel fatigue all of the time, and for others it's something that's particularly prominent only when they're at work or at that thought of going to work. Note that burnout can arise as a result of activities other than work, so things like study and parenting and volunteer work. So I use the term work to cover all of those scenarios here. This exhaustion arises for a few reasons. Firstly, there's an element of physical exhaustion. As a result of ongoing stress, your body has been in an activated stress response for a long time, and that consumes a large amount of energy. Many of you haven't been able to rest or take adequate leave, so you push on and use up all those physical resources that you have. Secondly, you're emotionally exhausted. Burnout's particularly common in professions which require a big emotional involvement, so things like healthcare and teaching. But regardless of profession, the experience of burnout is emotionally exhausting. This is made only harder by the effect it has on the way we relate to other people. So we tend to struggle to show empathy, we don't feel like socialising, and we become impatient and irritable. Thirdly, we often don't sleep well. It's common to dwell upon problems and struggle to fall asleep. And the quality of sleep is also reduced, particularly if we're using caffeine or alcohol or other drugs to survive. This leaves us in a cycle of sleep deprivation and worsening symptoms of burnout. So some tips to get you started. Make sure you give your body some physical rest. If you're constantly on the go, you might need to specifically dedicate time to simply just sit and rest, maybe in front of the TV or with a hot drink. If you sit a lot for work, you might actually need some gentle movement to increase your energy levels, something like a short walk or yoga. Acknowledge the emotional exhaustion and know that it's okay, it's not a sign of weakness. Social connection is really important, but you might need to give yourself extra alone time to recharge that emotional capacity. Maybe try journaling your thoughts. That act of writing can help clarify ideas and help to let go of issues. Maybe find a trusted friend to vent with and talk it all through. Optimize the quality of your sleep. Keep a consistent sleep and wake time. Avoid caffeine or alcohol too close to bedtime. Add some gentle exercise to your afternoon. And establish a bedtime ritual that helps to prepare your mind for sleep. The second thing I wanted to talk about is overwhelm. Feeling overwhelmed by responsibilities is normal in burnout. In fact, it's integral to why you burnt out in the first place. It's one of those things that snowballs. You begin by one set of stressful circumstances, and the resulting mental state makes the next task more difficult, which then makes the next task more overwhelming, and so on. So getting that space to recover from that and break that cycle can be really challenging. As amazing as our brains are, they have an unhelpful tendency to focus on the negatives. The mind tries to protect us by constantly looking out for dangers and threats so that we can respond appropriately. Unfortunately, our brain isn't particularly good at telling the difference between an approaching lion and a stressful meeting. We mount that same stress response for imagined threats as we do for real immediate danger. When negative events do happen, our mind magnifies them. We remember them much more clearly and for much longer than when positive events occur. And the result of this is that we spend much of our time ruminating over the past negative experiences or worrying about future catastrophes that might never happen. The good news is that we can work with our biology to alter these cognitive processes and experience things more positively. So let's look at some tips to get you started. In those moments when you feel stressed and overwhelmed, stop and take some slow, full breaths. Use a grounding exercise to refocus on the present world. Find one thing you can see, one thing you can hear, and one thing you can feel. And you can do these things in a quiet place on your own, or you could do it in the middle of a meeting without anyone noticing. Experiment with mindfulness meditation. Your mind's like a muscle. The thought pathways you use regularly get physically larger and are more likely to be used by default. So if you can train your mind to focus on the present reality, it'll gradually do that automatically throughout the day. Very carefully consider the demands upon your time and energy. What responsibilities can you postpone or eliminate? What can you delegate? What can you outsource? What can you ask for help with? These don't have to be permanent measures, but they might be temporary adjustments that can get you to a point of recovery where you can assess your long-term strategy. The third thing I want to talk about is inefficiency. When we're overwhelmed and stressed, we tend to struggle to concentrate, we make unwise decisions, and we end up being less productive than usual. This leaves us frustrated and perpetuates the cycle as it drives more stress and overwhelm. Our personality, our genetic factors, and past experiences drive different responses to these challenges. Some of you might have responded by trying to regain control, especially if you naturally have perfectionist kind of tendencies. And this might mean you've taken on an even bigger workload and tried to complete things to an even higher standard and held on to tasks to make sure they're done correctly instead of delegating them. Of course, this attempt to control and achieve more usually backfires, and it ends up only increasing those demands upon you while further depleting your resources. Some of you might have responded instead by avoidance. Perhaps you procrastinate, postpone, and distract yourself because facing that reality in front of you is too daunting. This too makes the challenges bigger. The to-do list grows and the problems become even more insurmountable. Still others of you simply have so many urgent demands upon your time that all you can do is constantly put out those spot fires and you never have a chance to address the important but less urgent issues. Whatever your response has been, there are strategies that you can use to regain a feeling of competency and efficiency. So let's look at some tips when it comes to inefficiency. Make use of to-do lists and planners. The more information you need to keep in your head, the more overwhelmed you'll feel. So find a planner strategy that works for you and frees up that mental space you need to concentrate on tasks and know you're on track. Don't multitask. It might feel more efficient and perhaps even like it's the only possible way to get things done, but it makes you less efficient. Your brain can't concentrate on two simultaneous complex tasks, and you waste time as you rapidly switch between them. So focus on one thing at a time. If you have some choice in how you schedule your time, make sure you complete your tasks which require the most concentration at those times of day that you have the most energy. Allocate creative tasks to the times of day when you tend to have lower energy. Minimize interruptions and set strong boundaries around your time. That takes us to the end of my 10 burnout tips to get you started, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Burnout Project. It's designed to provide assistance with burnout across the whole spectrum, so from prevention to detection and management, and then providing long-term support to maintain well-being and prevent burnout relapses. I'm a medical practitioner and a mother of 5. I've burnt out myself as well as assisting lots of patients with burnout. So it's this combination of personal and professional experience with burnout that's really shaped my services so that they can help people not only know what to do, but how to achieve that in a busy life and busy world. I help professionals overcome burnout and regain their love of life and work, and to use those experiences to enhance their leadership skills and success afterwards. So if you want assistance with burnout, find out how the Burnout Project can help, or you can buy a copy of my book, Burnout Your First 10 Steps, at theburnoutproject.com.au.